Welcome to Empowering the Next Generation podcast. I am Helen Verroux. This podcast is dedicated to help anyone connected to preteens and teens to give them tools, empower and inspire teachers, high school senior leaders, and parents to build the future leaders of tomorrow. We discuss about controversial and relevant topics related to the world of education, the main problems you are facing, and solutions to help you navigate your journey. We want to make a positive change in education by bringing on experts that will give you a different perspective on how you can solve the hardship you are facing today. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Empowering the Next Generation podcast with me, Coach Helen. I am so grateful that you're listening to us today. It's another episode, and you know that we are here to ignite 360 education, develop leaders, and create meaningful connections. So today, I have an amazing guest speaker with me. Gemma is a dynamic, award-winning leader with 20 years in education, including 17 in leadership across states, international, and independent sectors. She designed bespoke coaching, consultancy, and CPD for business owners, corporate leaders, and senior educators worldwide, empowering individuals and teams to achieve transformative results and lasting impact. Her leadership expertise drives rapid, recognized improvement. So I am so glad that she's with us today. Welcome on board, Gemma.
Hello.
Yes, thank you so much for showing up. I love your heart. I love your energy. You have so much to share with us today. And I just want you to, I know that you went and live in Dubai. So I just want you to share a little bit about that journey. Before we start into the coaching business, I want you to just share a little bit about where you traveled and what you've learned during these years.
Yeah, I think I went over in 2013 actually to Dubai, and I think I was, I kind of got the 9 year itch from my first school, and I'd made it to head of department, and I wanted a new challenge. And actually, Dubai, I'd been to Dubai previously, and it really appealed to me. And obviously, there's a financial element to that as well. Actually, there wasn't the financial restriction, and we spoke about that very briefly, didn't
Yes,
we, before?
yes.
But actually, I was 30 years old. I was earning a really good salary for being a 30-year-old. And actually my life was pretty, it was all work and no play. I couldn't really afford to go on holidays, and I am very much the kind of person that, I'm an all or nothing person. So I gave everything to my job, and I always have done actually. It was very much my identity at that point. And so I thought, right, okay, got to 30. I thought, okay, what are we here for? And I was ready for a new challenge. I thought, right, I'm going to go to Dubai. I'd always kind of had it in the back of my mind that I wanted to use my career to travel. And yeah, so I went over to Dubai, and I was the director of sport at a through school. So it was a 3 to 18 school. We were a brand new team of people that had, most of us had never lived in Dubai actually. So I was navigating a brand new team, a brand new curriculum, brand new assessment, brand new people to a brand new place, and that was crazy. It was brilliant, but crazy and very busy. But yeah, so that kind of Dubai, kind of being over that side of the world, actually allowed me to explore. I didn't have to save to go, you know, on holidays as such. I could jump over to Sri Lanka, I could go to
Yes,
Tanzania, Zanzibar. All of those places were just so accessible actually.
yes.
And what I did is, I worked really hard during the term time. But actually, what I was able to do in my holidays was to go and explore and travel and see the world.
How long did you stay in Dubai?
I was there for 3 years.
Okay. So why this change? Why did you decide to go back to the UK?
Yeah, well, yeah, love, actually.
Oh, you fell in love.
Yeah, I know. I fell in
Oh,
love, and then
oh.
and really, my partner at that point had two children, and so there was no, it was me going back to the UK. So yeah, that's what I did.
And I love how we talked about that soul search. And I feel like I am really into helping people into growing into that different multi-dimensional person. And I want you to share a little bit. How did you start from actually working for someone and really developing and empowering leaders around the world? And how did you get out of that that your bubble where you were just working for other people and then you decided, you know what, I want to make my own consultancy and I want to become that person, the person that I wanted someone to be for me. I want to be that person for them. So can you share a bit about that journey, that soul search journey?
Yeah, I can. So as you said before, I've been in education for 20 years, 17 in leadership. And I'll be really honest with you, I just hit a wall and I burnt out. And I
Mm,
didn't realize what I was experiencing, and probably until a couple of months later when I was kind of looking back. And I suffered with these horrific migraines, and they were just completely debilitating. So I couldn't even get out of bed to be able to go to work. Um, and what was really clear, so as time kind of went on and hitting that burnout, and I have to say that I was, you know, I was the person, the leader, I was the, I was so passionate, and I am still really passionate about education. Um, but I wanted to go all the way. Like it was all or nothing. I put my job before everything, it really was. I put my job before everything and the students and the staff in my care. And yeah, I just hit a wall and I just kind of almost overnight something kind of broke in me, and I didn't recognize myself at that point. I thought, where, and I kept thinking to myself, I saw it, it'll come back tomorrow, no, it'll come back next week, no, it's fine, I just need to rest, I just need to rest, it'll come back next month. And I kept hoping and praying that it would come, and
mm,
it just never did. And I thought, crikey, okay, well, if this isn't where I'm meant to be now, at that point, what does the future look like? And
wow,
I think one of the things through my journey that I'd recognized is that actually there was a really significant gap in the
wow.
support that leaders particularly need in education to make their role sustainable. And also something that's proactive, something that allows, so tools and techniques that allow you, when you hit those bumps in the road, which we all do, you need to be able to lean on tools and techniques to navigate those tricky times. Because otherwise, if you don't, that's when burnout hits. So
Mm,
what I felt really strongly and what I feel really strongly about is being able to provide that sustainable support for leaders to navigate those tricky times, the tools and techniques to prevent burnout rather than getting to burnout. Because when you've hit burnout, where I got to, and you kind of fall down a hole, there's a whole load of intervention that needs to happen to get you back out of that hole.
yes,
But it's
yes.
trying to give the tools and techniques to prevent that happening, to nurture you, to support you, to allow you to overcome stress, anxiety, tackle that kind of self-doubt, imposter syndrome, um,
Yes.
all of those things. And so I kind of got to a point where I was like, right, that's what I needed. I needed something that stopped me falling off the edge.
Mm,
And so that's what I've become really passionate about doing now. So what I did is I thought carefully about what my kind of route looked like, and I thought, right, what do I need to get there? So
mm.
I did a professional coaching qualification, and I'm now an NLP master practitioner.
Yes. So we're gonna
Um,
talk about that even more now. I love that.
yeah. And so that's basically kind of where I got to. I did those qualifications and then started to grow my business from there.
Nice. So let's talk about coaching and NLP, sorry, and NLP. So what does it mean? Why coaching and NLP?
Well, I think one of the things, and I'm sure you will, this will resonate with you as well, is that our jobs as leaders in schools are so reactive. You could literally run from one thing to the next, spinning all those plates and not really
Mm,
having the time to think strategically. So I know, as
mm,
an assistant head, I knew that I had responsibility for all of these things in the school: quality of education, rewards, literacy, numeracy, pupil premium, staff wellbeing, all of it. And because the job is so reactive, because you're on call, because I did 6 duties a day, you're teaching, you've got the assessment, you've got everything that goes alongside it. Actually, what I found that I was doing was I was trying to do my strategic thinking, like what does impact look like? What are what impact do I want to make for the students? What are my implementation steps to get there? What does success look like? I was kind of doing that a lot very late at night when I got home and exhausted. But equally, I was, sacrificing time at a weekend. Really, my Sunday was a work day because
yes.
that's when I had time and space to do my thinking. And what I kind of, when I was doing all of my reflection, actually coaching is something that absolutely should be embedded within a working week
I'm telling
because
you,
you need the time and the space to look forward. What does success look like? What's the higher intention of what we're doing?
totally
What are the
agree.
steps in order to get there? Yeah.
Yes.
And it's so important to have that as part of our working week, not when we're exhausted at the end of the day or sacrificing time with our families at the weekend, but actually it needs to be there because ultimately, as you know, as a fellow coach, we all have the innate resources within us in order to solve our own problems.
Mm.
And what we've done as well as leaders, we've got the promotion. We've demonstrated that we can make impact with a team, whether that's a department or whole school impact. We've shown that we can have fantastic student outcomes. We've got a can-do attitude. We can take people on board with this. We've got fantastic vision, but actually we don't ever really carve that time out in our working week to really think strategically. And so that's why I became really passionate about the coaching because I believe it should be part of everybody's working week.
I
Um,
totally agree with you because when you talk like that, for me, it's only to a certain degree that you can think that way because I feel as a transformational leadership coach, I feel that people are not trained to become leaders. They have jobs, they are managers. Yes, they have the vision for the school, but now how do you take time as a leader to think about you as a person? That's why the podcast as well is about igniting 360. It's not just the leader, the senior leader. How about the parents? How about the students? I feel it's lacking. So many points are lacking in the world of education where coaching, as you were saying, on a day-to-day basis is not implementing in school. And I feel we need to bring that part in school where we can bring that solution where people, as you're saying, can move from burnout to really being empowered. And that's what I love with what you're doing. You're offering empowerment to leaders. And we need to train senior leaders, educators to develop leaders, not just to take all the responsibility within themselves, but really, how do you build a team? This is something that is not being taught. Like they don't know how to do this stuff. And I feel like with people like you, people like me, we are actually bringing something different. I know there are a lot of coaching programs. I know there are a lot of coaches around the world. However, I feel that you need to find your niche. You need to find what is important to you. And when you talked about all that, it really resonated with me because I feel that we need to be in that place where we not only ignite 360, we not only develop leaders, but as well create meaningful connection. I think that schools have to be a place where connections are being built. But with what you were experiencing, your burnout, it was really hard for you to connect with people because you were always focusing on the job, the job, the job, the job, but never, as you were talking about, the soul search, that who you are as a person, who you are as a leader. It wasn't really focused on in that period of your life. And I
Mm.
feel that we need to bring that into school. I don't think that it has been actually activated in school, create meaningful connections. I feel like in most of the school I've been working with, like there is that part where the connections are not there. Even
Mm.
from the senior leaders to even educators or even to students and to parents, there is always a little gap
Mm.
in there. And I feel that we need to bridge that gap and bring something different to the table.
I think it's very much about the culture within the school and
Yes,
that culture of vulnerability. And I think there's this notion, firstly, that as you kind of work your way up the leadership, hierarchy, that it gets lonelier actually. Um, and there's that sense that actually, that kind of judgment, if you were to, it's like how much do you share with the people that line manage you?
that's
How
it.
how open and honest are you? So what tends to
Mm,
happen is people take on more and more and more, and they end up drowning, but they're very stoic in the way that they want to be seen to be doing a really good job. So
mm,
they'll be working 24/7 to show what impact they can make in the fact that, and almost trying to validate why they've been given this role because they can juggle all these places, been on this place, but actually at what personal cost. And I think
thing.
yeah, and perhaps that kind of I think some head teachers have got, and I've connected with some wonderful senior leaders And they really do have that open culture of vulnerability, actually, and that real nurture. But equally, I've spoken to plenty of leaders that don't actually, and so they do feel very lonely. They've got and I think as well, when you get those positions, we earn those positions because we've demonstrated all the wonderful leadership skills and qualities that allow us to be promoted. But actually, I think there's an accountability and a pressure that nobody can prepare you for. And I think
Mm.
that's the support that I think the coaching is really important, but equally and additionally, tools and techniques that,
Yes. So let's talk
you know,
about that deeper. What do
yeah,
you
go on.
do actually? What do you do actually? Because you talk about all the tools and techniques and tools and so let's dive about really what you do and what techniques you offer. Maybe if you want to share one technique based on what you are doing in your consultancy, but just share with the audience.
Yeah, so well, I do lots of different things actually. One of the things that I'm really, in fact, it's just come to a close this morning. I had my last session this morning, is an online group coaching program, and it's all about nurturing pastoral leaders. So it's a pilot that I did, and I took leaders from the UK, from Uganda, and from the UAE, and we did 6 sessions together, and they're about an hour and a half to 2 hours each, and it was just a place where we could come. We formed a supportive community of people where we nurtured ourselves. And, one of the things that I always say is in order to lead well, we have to, stay well.
Mm,
Um, so, and it's about nurturing each other. So the program looked at um, looking at how to improve self-worth and confidence. What actually, because I think sometimes we forget what our innate resources are, and we've got to bring
mm,
those forward to the forefront, having that positive mindset. And very often we're dealing with criticism all the time. And actually, well, what is it? What are my skills and strengths? What are those innate resources that I've forgotten that I've had? But actually, I can bring to the table when
mm,
I meet challenges further on. We talked about anxiety, and I led them in terms of, why do we have anxiety? Why does it exist? How can we overcome anxiety? And I taught them a timeline technique with that, and also a breathing technique as well. And then we looked at conflict. So why do we have conflict? And again, a lovely technique for this is perceptual positions. So it
mm.
gives you more empathy, gives you an understanding, but also helps to resolve that conflict as well. Um, Other things that we covered on that was anchoring resourceful states. So
Okay.
we explored, and it was very like they had to be really quite vulnerable, and really quite reflective in the sessions. And so we were exploring, well, what does your crash state look like? How do we get to that crash state? What does it look like for you? Okay, well, when we're in that position, how do we anchor a resourceful state?
Mm.
Because we do, don't we? We have an email that comes in, or a parent, or a member of staff, or a child, or whatever it is that kind of makes you think, oh, for goodness sake, or you get stressed or anxious about something.
Yes.
And actually, how do you anchor those resourceful states? So we do a technique called the circle of excellence, where we can basically anchor those resourceful states. And more recently, so today we did a technique which was the older, wiser self. And it's one of my favorite techniques, whereby if you've got a decision to make, if you are feeling anxious or stressed about something particular, if you want to get clarity on something, if you know what you've got to do, but you kind of stalling about making that move, actually the older, wiser self is a technique whereby you can gain clarity and perspective and actually gain a lot of insight into actually what actually is important. So, I mean, that gives you a little bit of without me diving too much further
No,
into
yeah,
that.
it's good. It's good. It's good. I feel it's important that you actually create that space where you have different people from different part of the world that can actually connect and actually learn different ways that they can actually help, that can help them in their journey of becoming better and becoming more confident in their role. So I feel it's very powerful what you're doing. So why is NLP so effective as a tool to overcome stress, anxiety, imposter syndromes, and others?
Yeah. Well,
Why?
it's basically, we talked about this morning actually. The grass isn't always greener, but the grass is green where you water it. And so what NLP allows you to do is strengthen those neural pathways in your brain that, instead of when we get maybe a better way of explaining this, when we get kind of to a burnout exhaustion towards the half term, we have that negativity perhaps, and we start to feel exhausted and everything starts to get on top of us. what we end up doing is we look at the reality that happens around us and we start pattern matching and trying to evidence things that basically fulfill what we're thinking. Oh, well, I knew I wasn't very good at this. Oh, I knew I shouldn't have got that promotion. Well, I knew that she would be better at this job than I would be. And you start to seek evidence in the reality that fuels those neural pathways in your brain. And what we need to do is we need to stop that and we need to build and strengthen positive neural pathways. So one of the techniques that I'm doing in the workshop that I'm running at the moment is called the Wise Warrior technique. And it's all about strengthening those neural pathways, recognizing your skills, strengths, and qualities and innate resources that we have,
Mm.
and strengthening those neural pathways so that it's not always our default, is to go back to the negative mindset. Actually, no, I know my worth. I know my innate resources. I
Mm.
know the skills and strengths and qualities that I have, and it's empowering, it's enriching, it gives you that autonomy and again that empowerment to move forward and overcome future challenges with strength.
I like that.
Um, yeah, so that's and it's making a deep subconscious change, but rapid. It's a rapid change that we can make, but it's a deep subconscious
Mm.
change
So
that we make.
what are the different impacts that your program had on your clients so far? Share two of
Oh, yeah, crikey! This is kind of well timed actually because I asked my clients at the end of the session kind of what impact it had had. And they said things like, in fact, I've got it written down here because I made some notes this morning. So they talked about improved confidence and self-worth, but actually that sense that they're not alone. All the things that they think actually it happens in other people's brains as well. And
Yeah.
actually you feel really alone, but you're not because, it's echoed with other people. I think reminder of those innate resources. One of my clients, they said, actually just gives you that sense of perspective. And it's that perspective shifting that was really important for her. Um, Decision making, they said, becomes really important because actually what you're doing is, it's looking at what you want out of your life and the decisions that you've got to make now in order to get there.
Yes,
Because fundamentally,
definitely.
things aren't going to change unless you change your thinking around it. Um, and as well as all of the, improved confidence, reduced anxiety, I tell you one thing. I had a client today who she's actually a year group leader, and she says that what she's done, she's had a really really tough week this week, like a really challenging week. She said normally she said I would have crumbled. She said, but you know what I did is throughout the week I've been using all of the tools and techniques within my daily practice to get me through these tough times. And she gave me one example that she was awake at 3 o'clock in the morning worrying. I mean, she was in one of her crash dates.
Mhm.
And so she actually got out of bed and she went to another room and she did the circle of excellence. And she was then wanting to anchor a resourceful state, a calm state, because she knew she needed to sleep. Sleep so
Mm.
important for well-being and to, make everything manageable the next day. And she said, I did it and I did it for 20 minutes. And she said, and I slept soundly then until my alarm went off. And I was like, oh, that's
Wow,
amazing.
that's really
Um,
good.
and she also used some anecdotes about she got three quite tricky parental emails this week. Um, and she was able to use the perceptual positioning to
Mm.
allow her to, straight away, because you kind of get on the defensive, don't you? Think, oh, why are they emailing that? Like that's they've taken this completely out of context. But what she was able to do is to use the perceptual position to gain a better understanding, really, perhaps as to where the parent was coming from, so that she could deal with that more effectively than as a leader. So
Mm.
it's just they're just a couple of examples. And I think the final thing I'll say about the impact has been that kind of sense of community. And they've really, some of the workshops that I've led as well, they've said that actually it's really strengthened the relationships with the staff
Nice.
within the school because it's a shared experience, isn't it? And there's nothing better to bring people together than it's shared
Definitely.
experience.
Mm.
And so they feel that the rapport's improved, that morale's improved, the relationships has improved. And one of the things I really loved actually with the school that I did one of the workshops with is that they got a bracelet for, so I do a circle of excellence, and what they did is they actually got a circle of excellence, which was a bracelet, and they gave it to each of the participants so they could
Nice.
remember how to anchor those resourceful states.
I love
And they
it.
were wearing them today actually, which was lovely. So
I love
so yeah,
it.
so it's like little things
I love how you actually use your own experience and you actually made an impact in your world where you are in your journey. And you could see that your personal story was worth it, because what you experience is still helping people around you, because this is what we're doing. I love how you use those personal experience and you actually made an impact on those lives. So well done, Gemma. I love your heart as well for people. I feel it's very important to just be humble. I feel like you're humble and you just want to help and make a difference. So last word of encouragement to any senior leaders, any parents, any educators listening to us right now, what would you tell them?
I would say, I'm really sorry, I've got a dog in here. Can you hear the dog?
No.
You can't hear the dog? Oh, good.
No. Can you hear the prayer here?
Pardon?
Can you hear the prayer?
No, I can't. I've got a dog in here, so I'm just gonna let him out really quickly. It's the only drawback of working from home.
That's beautiful. I like authenticity. So be.
So what would I say? I think that what would be my final thing? We all hit, and I said this before, there's always going to be challenges along the road, personal, professional challenges. And what we need to do is make sure that we're fully equipped to deal with those. Because if we're not able to deal with those kind of now, and as the journey progresses on, you will end up at a point where actually you won't be able to cope. And I think that's the important bit. I think it's about investing time in youth, whatever that looks like. It might not be, it might not be the wellbeing programs or the NLP, but there are things that you need to do every week that you carve out time for yourself and to nurture yourself and to listen to yourself. And we as educators, we give everything to everyone all of the time. And it's really important that we've got to fill our cups so that we can then fill the cups of the communities that we serve. And if we don't do that, then actually we're doing them a bit of a disservice and ourselves a massive disservice. So I think it goes back to, in order to lead well, you have to stay well. And whatever it is that works for you, make sure that we're nurturing ourselves on this journey that we're on.
I love it. Thank you so much, Gemma, for sharing your experience, your story, your expertise. To anyone listening to us, I will put Gemma's socials in the links in the comment section, so you could actually reach out to her. And for those who wants to actually to get unstuck and to go to a higher level in their life, I would encourage you to join my Wise Edu Speaker Masterclass, where you will get tools to help you grow into a higher level in your life. So thank you for listening, everyone, and I see you in the next podcast. Thank you for listening to this episode, and make sure you connect with us on Instagram at The Keys for Success. Check also my Linktree and become an affiliate of the Success Guide for Teens Academy, a program that will empower your school community as a parent, teacher, and high school senior leader. Do not hesitate to reach out, comment, and share. Until then, see you in the next episodes.